we want to stand on the already established protocol, and I've been asked today to speak on this topic, managing. Please just hold on. Okay. Managing HR and climate changes. Today, I want to start with this honest question. Why are we talking about climate change here in an HR gathering? Please, before I start, I'm just going to, I know there are discussants who are, some of them are professors of this field who will do more justice to this during the discussion time. I have to be at HQ by 12 noon for the news you're already aware of. We are starting something huge today and we are inaugurating it at 12. And I'm sitting in the corner of my house right now. I still have about 1 hour to drive to HQ. So you'll permit me, the moment I'm done with this session, you will have to excuse me in this meeting. I'm going to connect somehow after that event of the HQ. And then the esteemed panel will do justice to the questions that are coming afterwards. So why are we talking about climate change in an HR gathering? For decades, the climate conversation was somewhere else. Scientists were leading it. Activists were carrying placards everywhere. We no go gree, we no go gree. You are destroying our land. Ken Saro-Wiwa, laid down his life for this matter. Policymakers were making frameworks and international agreements. I mean, we saw them on the news. We heard their warnings, and maybe, just maybe, many of us thought this is not really my lane. This is for the environmental people. This is for government people, the sustainability people, as we call it. But today, something has shifted. Something has shifted. Something has changed. The impact of climate change are no longer, distant forecasts. They're no longer tomorrow's problems. They are present-day business challenges. All of us could feel it in our organizations. Floods, cutting off staff from getting to the office. Yes, it's a climate change brouhaha. It's a climate change headache. The impact of climate change, no longer, distant forecasts. It's not something you hear, the earthquakes are happening we have our own challenge here too. Heat waves that raise health and safety concerns. They are all at our doorsteps here. Disruptions, to supply chains that delay projects and frustrate customers. We are all feeling it here. And in the middle of all of this, the workforce, the people, our people, the people we are to manage. And that's where HR comes in. That is why the conversation has landed squarely on your desk, because the people are involved. Which no concern you before has now become your biggest concern, because the people are involved. When climate change disrupts productivity, it's an HR issue. It's not the scientist issue. When when it threatens the health and safety of both the workforce and the workplace, it's an HR issue. When it forces us to rethink where and how people work, it's a big issue for HR. The environment may trigger the disruption, but the impact lands, on the workforce. And if it touches the workforce, then it touches the HR. So you can't escape it. You can't outsource it. It has to become, our business. Now, when climate shift disrupts organizations, what exactly is at stake? When climate shift disrupts how we do our thing in our organizations, what is the cocoa of the matter? What do we stand to lose? Resilience, number one. Resilience is at stake. The business continuity is at stake. The ability of our institutions, whether private or public, across every sector to keep running, to keep serving, to keep creating value. All of these are at stake. So you see why it's a big issue for HR now. And at the heart of all of this, us, that's where we step in. Before now, some of us have been thinking, that our job is compliance, policies, processes, payroll. And then we evolved. HR became business support. We call ourselves HR business partners, recruitment, training, engagement, etc., etc. But today, some of you are seeing it as a futuristic thing, but it's here today. In this climate era, we are stepping into a bigger space, a different space. So it's not about, just following strategy anymore. We are at that point now where we are shaping strategy. We are not just ticking compliance boxes anymore. We are anchoring sustainability. That grammar, we know concern us before. It has to be part of our headache. The way analytics was not your headache before, and all of a sudden they dragged you into maths. It dragged you into accounting. Now I've dragged that into this issue around geography also. So at this point, the call is for us not to respond anymore. We have to lead. We're at that point now where HR, we have to lead everything. I hope you also know that finance, we're also at that point now where we have to lead finance. So some of you that ran away to HR because you want to run away from some of these things, congratulations. Everything is landing on your table now. So in this conversation, what are we setting out to do? We're setting out to do three things. First, we want to understand clearly how climate change directly and indirectly shapes our work, how they shape our work, how they shape our workplaces and the workers that work with us that we manage. That's fundamentally fundamental. I mean, foundational. Second, we want to explore strategies, not theories. Strategies, not wishful thinking, practical strategies, real tools HR can deploy today, tomorrow, next tomorrow to build resilience and adaptation into our organization. And thirdly, and this one is very critical, we want to reposition HR. We want to be seen and to act not as an afterthought, not as just an implementer. We want to be seen as a driver of sustainable, inclusive, future-ready culture. Yes, that's what we want to be seen as, and that's why we're having this conversation. So we're not just reacting to change, anymore. We have to shape the way organizations survive and thrive in the middle of it. Again, why is your concern? Is because everything we do in the organization anchors on people, and you are the people manager. You are the CEO of, people, the general overseer of the people in your organization. So now, why does all of this matter? They matter because if we miss this conversation, we miss the chance to prepare our people. And if we fail to prepare our people, no matter the industry you play in, whether it's finance, whether it's oil and gas, or whether it's manufacturing, whether it's the public service, whether it's education, whether it's the church, our organization will not withstand the shocks of tomorrow. And that's why we're having this conversation today. So let's move to the next slide and try and understand climate change and its workforce impacts. We're going to look at direct and indirect impacts, and I'll be starting with direct impacts. The first, as you can see on your screen, is health and safety. When we talk about climate change, we're basically talking about, to the best of my understanding, we're talking about direct impacts, human impacts, impacts that show up in the everyday health and safety of our people. Extreme heat, flooding, storms, who can give me more, poor air quality, the list goes on and on. And they are not headlines from faraway countries. Yes, I know you used to hear them from faraway countries. They have become our reality now. So it's not their problem anymore. They are realities. Realities we are beginning to see right here. Realities that touch where people live, where people walk and how people walk. Example, flood. Remember Adamawa, I think, is it Mokwa now? Bayelsa, Delta, Kogi, even Lagos, year after year, all of these states I mentioned, communities, have seen flooding so severe that offices had to shut down. Offices literally shut down. Staff couldn't get to work. Some employees waded through, waterlogged streets. We even saw, some, I think on social media where people were paddling canoes in the streets because of floods, just to show up at work. Others couldn't even leave their homes, schedules collapsed, meetings were cancelled, HR had to scramble, approving emergency leaves, rearranging rosters, adjusting performance expectations back to back because of climate issues that didn't concern us before. And for those managing outdoor staff, the risks are multiplied. Construction, agriculture, logistics, field operations, all of this also felt it. A construction site has to halt work because the heat is simply too much. Will Baba or Baba die? That's climate issue. Because the guy is feeling unsafe. We feel it. HR feels it because he has stopped working because of climate issue. When delivery driver, maybe in Kano or Maiduguri, face dust storms that make visibility near zero, the guy is riding his bike, dust everywhere. It's not letting him see. The risk is immediate. It's higher exposure, higher incidents, higher cost. And every safety incident, where does it land? On HR stable. On HR stable. Because each one translates to lost hours, lost productivity, and you are the one counting. You are the one doing performance management. And some of these, tragically, they lead to loss of lives. and you have to do, benefits, you have to do replacements. So it's a big issue for us. I've mentioned all of this, and you say these are physical. No, it doesn't stop at the physical level. It has a psychological angle to it. I'm sure some of us are beginning to hear, all manner of grammar, mantras coming up. Eco anxiety. If they have not told you about eco anxiety, climate grief, strange words a few years ago, but now they are real. They are very real because of climate issues. So what does that mean for us? It means uncertainty is weighing on, they are weighing on our people's minds. It means what is next? It's not just a news headline we watch on CNN or Al Jazeera anymore. It's a daily worry right here in Nigeria now. Stress today is not only from workload or difficult manager. The stress is also from climate realities. It's not the guy, the wife didn't cook for him last night. He had quarrel and he's stressed out. No, climate is also contributing to our people's mental fatigue now. Imagine an employee whose family home somewhere, maybe in Bayelsa, or submerged in flood. That employee comes to the office the next week. Yes, they are physically present, but emotionally, the guy has not gone, he has not overcome that mental, stress that issue caused for him. So they are physically present, but emotionally, they are carrying trauma. And who manages that trauma in the workplace? Us. Who supports their mental health? Us. That's why I say mental well-being is not a medical matter alone. It's also an HR matter. And then another dimension to it, the health risks that don't always make headlines, the ones that creep in slowly and quietly. And we're already seeing it. Malaria season lasting longer in some parts of Nigeria, cholera outbreaks. I think there was a recent one around Lagos, flaring up more frequently after floods contaminate water, with diseases shifting into new regions, new communities. And each shift brings, new pressures on the healthcare system. As new challenges arise, it brings a different kind of shift, disruption into how we do our thing in our organization. Health insurance plans, what happens to them? I mean, pressure on health insurance plan. And who does that come to? It comes to HR. It comes to HR. Because when illness increases, absenteeism increases. Can you see now? When absenteeism increases, operations suffer. And once again, we HR professionals were at the heart of all of this. So if we put all of this together, when we talk about climate change and workforce, climate change and the workforce, we're talking about physical risk, we're talking about occupational hazards, we're talking about mental health pressure. Which other one have I mentioned? I think I also mentioned disease exposure. All of these are direct impacts, and all of them touch health, all of them touch safety, and each single one of them, without exception, lands back on the table of HR. So let's move on to another climate change and its workforce impact. We're talking about direct impact, and now workforce disruptions. Workforce disruptions. disruptions to schedules, disruptions to attendance, disruption to the very flow of work itself. That's another impact of climate change. Absenteeism, employees missing work, not because they disengage, but because they, it's not that they miss work because, they are disengaged. It's not that they don't care. But climate event has just kept them at home. Climate event has kept them out. It's not only fuel. A thought flashed on my mind now during the fuel crisis that they said HR, HR trended very well. When climate issue also happens in your area, you will trend because it becomes your issue. Mentioned, flooded roads, heat waves, whole communities, being cut off after days of, heavy flooding. I mean, that's absenteeism. It will happen. It's disruption. But sometimes, they still show up. Yes, our people show up in spite of everything that happens. So I'm just shifting the narrative from, okay, something happens, they didn't come to work. What if they came? And some of them do come. So when they come, what happens? They clock in. Yes, they sit at their desk, physically present, but mentally absent. Which grammar did they use for that one? I think that's presenteeism. They come to work, but they are not present at work mentally. And that is as costly as absenteeism. People coming to work, they are at work, but their mind is absent. So when employees are weighed down by health, maybe family crisis, climate-related struggles, their output must definitely drop. Their output must definitely drop. Their output must definitely drop. Their focus must scatter. Because mentally they are traumatized. They are not and you can still hear me. Can someone confirm you can still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but there was a bit of fluctuation here and there, but
Yes,
I think
can you
Not
hear you
really,
clearly?
really there.
it's getting better now. Yeah. Please go on, sir.
Confirm you, I'm on a Zoom call. Please don't call me. Thank you. And what happens? There will be dropped in shifts, shift cancellation, irregular schedules, operational delays, we can keep naming them again and again. You've planned a production cycle, but a heavy rain, wash out access roads, and logistics supply comes to a halt. You've made customer commitments, but your teams can't get to the site because the road has been cut off. I mean, those are disruptions, and the ripple, not just through HR, but through supply chains also. So you can see the ripple effect of climate issues. Commitments you are not able to keep through the customers, through revenue streams, one break in the chain, and the stocks will spread everywhere. So what do organizations do that we're supposed to do? We adapt. We don't have a choice. We learn harder on flexibility. We learn and we lean on flexibility. Remote work. Abi, people, okay, you can't come, stay at home, but connect remotely. Hybrid work, so it's no longer a nice to have, productivity strategy again. It has become survival strategy. And there are ways you can monitor productivity even when they are far away. So all of this has become resilient strategy. We saw this during the pandemic. We all learned the playbook. And now climate realities are forcing us to keep that playbook close. For example, some Nigerian banks, I know they now operate remote, work protocols on days when flooding makes community impossible to plow, commuting near impossible. So they ask people to stay at home, and they're not doing it as experiments, not as specs. It has become a necessity, forced by climate issues. So infrastructural problems, power grids collapsing under heat stress, transportation networks that floods had blocked, internet service breakdown during storms. If rain, the cloud gathers now, and there's thunder strikes and rain starts falling, the entire meeting that we are enjoying now is in a mess. These are some of the effects of climate change that we experience at work. So I think I've dwelt enough there. Let me just move on. The next direct impact: talent mobility and geographic shifts. Mobility, sir. Please let me call you back. I'm on a Zoom call. I'm speaking now, sir. I'm the guest speaker. Mr. Okay, I think I'm back. Please confirm you can hear me.
We can hear you, sir.
We can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear you, sir.
I think part of the climate issue is when people call us and network will suddenly vamoose. The Lord will help Nigeria. I didn't hear an amen to that. So I think this is where I am. So we're talking about talent mobility and geographic shifts. When the climate changes, jackpot comes into play. People move. It's as simple and as direct. People move. Some of us migrated to Lagos. We migrated to Ogun. Some of us that went abroad, we migrated there because of climate issues. because of greener pastures. And when people move, work moves, talent moves, business itself begins to move. So we are beginning to see it, the Japa syndrome, climate migration, workers living vulnerable regions, coastal communities, where flooding has become seasonal, dry regions where farming no longer sustains families. I mean, what are you going to plant when the soil has become hardened? It has become hardened. Fertilizer is not even fertilizing anything. There's no water. There's no water. Forest regions where desertification, creeps in year by year. People are moving. And as they move, what happens to labor? The labor market shifts. So we've seen this in so many areas. Repeated flooding, displacing thousands of families, whole neighborhood submerged. I've dwelled on this again and again. Now, pause for a moment and think about what that means for us in HR. It means new inflows of job seekers into already crowded markets. Inflows. It means labor pools drying up in the flood-prone regions. People moving from where the problem is. They move from there and they move to where they believe there are greener pastures. It means oversupply in some areas, shortages in other areas. And it's not only individuals. Organizations themselves are moving. Coastal offices quietly shifting inland. Facilities relocating to safer zones. Let me not rock the boat. Some of you now that had offices in Maiduguri before. I know so many offices moved. They relocated to wherever they perceive as, safer regions. And when these organizations move, who manages the human side of that move? Us. Relocation policies, redeployment plans. Which other one now? Oh yeah, now. Housing arrangements, family support. All of these are your problems. Oh. Safety nets for displaced employees. That's on your desk. On your desk every time. So what's coming to my mind now, an example in the oil and gas, industry. We've seen companies in the Niger Delta scaling down facilities or pulling critical, staff inland where flood hits hard. It's not only terrorism. I even heard the company closed down. I was in Warri recently. And I don't want to mention the name of the company, but some of us on this call know the company. I passed in front of their, our office there in Warri. Ghosted. It's only mobile men that are there now. So who steps in when all of this happens? It's us. Arranging temporary housing, adjusting work rosters, keeping the people steady while, the business holds its breath. So again, we can't overflog all of these issues. So I'm going to leave the issue of talent mobility there and move to the indirect impact of this climate change on, HR functions. Let's start with recruitment and employer branding. Talent is changing. I know we know. Workforce is shifting. A new generation of employees. The oldest among Gen Zs. I think Gen Z starts from when now? Is it 1996? I think 1996. So the oldest among them now should be 29, if I'm not mistaken. So younger millennials, the new crop of Gen Zs, they're just looking for a paycheck. What some of the baby boomers, some of us who are Gen X, what we cherish so much, no stability, no. So they are not just chasing salaries. They are not just chasing titles. They are looking for purpose. They are looking for alignment. They are looking for meaning in their work. These people, they are coming into your organizations. They are looking for organizations that stand for something bigger than profit. And one of the biggest somethings they are looking for today is sustainability. People like, is it Greta? What's her name? This lady that says she will not fly plane. There are people like that. Young people trying to cause shifts. Environmental stewardship, they are looking for it. So attracting top talents, speaking directly to that consciousness, because that's what matters to them. They feel their life. They are not just working. See, if you manage, and I hope a few elders are on this call. If you manage these guys, these young guys, the way you manage us, you're not going to have staff. You're not coming to your organization to make money. We're in the days of crypto now. Some of your employees are richer than you. Some of your employees are richer than you. So if you think you can bamboozle them because of salary, you lose them. They're looking for environmental stewardship, climate responsibility. So attracting top talent today means speaking directly to what matters to them. If your organization is careless about climate, careless about sustainability, careless about the future of the environment, you will lose that talent. You will say you can always get another one. But have you, I don't need to tell you whether you have considered the cost of recruitment. I'm carrying out one now. I know how much, I mean, the platform where you deploy the aptitude test, you know how much it is, except you want them to cheat, or you have money to fly them down, or you think it's your local community, you want to attract people to get top talents from anywhere across the globe. Let's even live across the globe, from anywhere across Nigeria. You fly them down, Abi, for interview, or maybe you want to conduct the interview remotely. How are you going to conduct it? You can't conduct on Zoom because they will cheat. So you want to subscribe to a platform that has proctoring. You don't have that facility. You have to engage any of these, solution providers. You spend money. You will do assessment center, Abi. You fly them down. You rent a hall. All of that costs money. Now you grab this guy, and you feel if he wants to go, he should go. Sir, you will have problem, because they will say you are just wasting the money of the organization. So if you don't put in place what matters to them, you will attract them and lose them. And I'm telling you, this new generation, they are not coming for money. They're not coming for money. They are coming because your organization, the purpose of the organization aligns with their purpose. They want to spend their life on something that matters, something that lasts. So you will lose them. Some of you won't even get them through the door, because they will check your values. They go to your websites. They will scan your ESG commitments, and they will quietly walk away. We can already see that in Nigeria. So let me leave that there and move to another indirect impact, on the HR functions, compensation and benefits. Some of us have fixed compensation and benefits in our organization. But please, we cannot allow them to remain frozen in old models when the climate reality around us is shifting every single year. So our compensation and benefits plan must evolve. They must bend. They must stretch to meet the new reality. What happens to hazard pay? What happens to disaster relief allowance? Okay, even okay, I can hear some of us, even you are not speaking loudly, but I can hear us. I have the spirit of God. So even me, HR, did they give me? That's why your organization is struggling now. That's why you are struggling. Think about what we might call climate leave, time off for employees during natural disasters. So they shouldn't be futuristic concept anymore. They shouldn't be nice to have for some distant future anymore. You have to make them an urgent issue in your organization. Employees cannot give their best, cannot give their energy, their creativity, their productivity when their safety or the safety of their family is at risk. No, forget it. Forget it. So you solve their problem, they solve yours. Is it Richard Branson that says if you take care of your employees, they're going to take care of your business? So again, because I'm also watching time, I think I have I started around 11:30, so I've done like 30 minutes. I have like 30 more minutes. So performance management, its impact on performance management. If climate change is disrupting work, then surely it must also disrupt how we measure and manage performance. The KPI of yesterday, the scorecards we used yesterday, the rigid metrics of yesterday may not survive the volatility of today. It can't. And that's why you're having problems. They will not survive the uncertainty of tomorrow. That's sure. They're not going to be all the KPIs you use to how you appraise your employees. Why? Because when climate events hit, productivity will dip, output will slow. It's going to slow down. Targets will shift. And if we continue to measure performance as though the environment is stable, then we will punish people. We will penalize employees for realities completely outside of their control. We're going to penalize them completely for something outside their control. So what must we do? We need to rethink KPIs. We need to rebuild performance systems, building flexibility. I did a book. I wrote a book recently. All my books are free. I don't do things for money. So if you don't have a copy, I'm going to send a copy to you through the means you got the link to join this meeting. You get a copy of the book. I mean, it's received. I've gotten feedback from the president on the book. I've gotten feedback from the vice president. The vice president said he has read the book twice and that he's beginning to. I mean, I'm happy for that feedback. You can't do things the old way and continue expecting a different result, punishing people for the crimes that is outside of their control. So we need to define success, differently. In today's world shaped by climate volatility, we don't have a choice. We must. When heavy rainfall shuts down, your communities. floods everywhere, roads blocked. Staff spending 6, 7, sometimes 8 hours in traffic. Staff spending long hours commuting, or worse, they can't even leave their homes. So if your performance system measures only punctuality or physical presence, what happens? Those employees suddenly look like poor performers. They are lazy, uncommitted. But is that the truth? Is that the truth? Are they really lazy? When the disruption is external, out of their control. The disruption is environmental. The real performance question is not, did you arrive at 8 a.m.? Question you should be asking is, how did you adapt? How did you adapt? How did you continue your work? Not what time did you get to the office? How did you communicate despite the challenge? How did you deliver results? How? That's the heart of, performance in today's era. It has to be. So it shouldn't be about output anymore. It should be about capability, the capability to adapt, the resilience to bounce back. As they hit you here, it hit you for left. Because this is Ogun State now Yoruba we dey speak. Oluelosi Ogbotunyo. Apologies to those who don't understand Yoruba. That thing, resilience, bouncing back, anyhow, surviving, delivering results, the ability to collaborate under pressure. So, survival skills. Those are the things we should be measuring now. It should be the performance, key performance, not only performance, key performance indicators. Adaptability, collaboration. In times of disruption, those qualities become the true differentiators of high-performing employees and high-performing teams. Let me leave that there. L&D. I'm going to also leave this here. Because of my time, let me go to the role of HR in building climate resilience. I've taken time to explain the impact of climate change. So let's talk about our role now, and then we bring this home. And then I leave those who are more knowledgeable than me in this space, the professors of climate change, to now discuss extensively on this. Your role in building climate resilience. Number one, strategy and leadership. When we talk about climate resilience, you can't be a bystander. Said that times and again. You shouldn't be an afterthought. You should not just be a support function. HR can't be. You have to be a strategic partner, a partner in shaping how the organization survives, how it thrives in this new climate reality. And what do I mean when I'm talking about you being a strategic partner in shaping how you will thrive? We're talking about embedding climate risk. Yes, climate risk right into the heart of workforce planning. Climate risk, embedding it as you are planning for workforce. You are embedding it there. Not at the margins, not as, a nice to have, not in a policy document that nobody reads, but at the core, at the very center of strategy. Because if the business is rethinking its operations to meet sustainability goals, if the board is making bold ESG commitments, if investors are asking tough questions about risk and resilience, and HR is not at the table, we are not there driving the workforce dimension, shaping the people agenda, then strategy is incomplete, sir. It will not hold. So maybe what example can let's even look at the banks. Many of them are beginning to require environmental and social impact assessments before approving large loans. I heard so. I don't know how true that is, but I heard so. But that's strategy. That's adaptation. So if the HR team in those banks is not preparing, staff to understand sustainable finance, green lending, compliance frameworks, then the strategy collapse. It's going to collapse at execution. It's going to look good on paper, no doubt, but it will fail in practice. So we must step up. Stepping up not as administrators, not as compliance officers, but as a strategic change agent. And that's the language, that's the role, that's the future of our profession. Culture, not technology, is the hardest part of resilience. Culture. Culture is what makes or breaks adaptation. And who are the custodians of culture? Who holds the people agenda? We. Shape recruitment. We are the ones designing development. We are the ones managing performance. Abi? We are the ones rewarding behaviors. And every one of those levers, every single one, can either reinforce the business as usual or move the organization towards adaptability, moving it towards resilience. You are moving it towards sustainability. An example of a manufacturing company in Lagos is coming to my mind. Maybe the HR decides to link performance reviews to sustainability behaviors, rewarding managers who reduce waste. Yes, I'm making it practical now. Rewarding managers who reduce waste, who cut energy use, who redesign processes for efficiency. Yes, you can see that this is beyond administration now. We have started shaping culture. And that's HR turning strategy into daily behavior. So the point is clear. The mandate is very, very clear. We must lead from the front. Leading by embedding sustainability into workforce strategy. Leading by partnering with executives to ensure resilience is not just a slogan. It's not just a line in the annual report. Resilience, resilience, resilience. No. But a lived reality expressed in the way people work every day. It can't be overstated. Please, I've said it times and again, we're not just administrators, not just compliance checkers. We are strategic partners. And for you to earn a seat at the table, you must, you must roar silently, and they must hear. They are resilience builders. We are culture shapers. And right there is where the future of HR lies. Another role, our role in building climate resilience, policy and business continuity. So when we talk about managing HR in the face of climate change, one of the first things that come to mind is policy. Policy and business continuity. If you don't get the policies right, Or some of your policies are looking like what a police officer, a law enforcement officer, and a lawyer wrote. If we don't get the policies right, if we don't think about continuity upfront, then when disruption comes, when the storm hits, when the heat rises, when the roads flood, the whole system will shake and everything becomes reactive. Everything will collapse under pressure. I hope you know is the culture of your organization, the temperature of your organization is dictated by what you wrote in your policy. Culture is just a lived policy. Yes, culture is a lived policy in action. That's the temperature of your organization. So what exactly do I mean? Talking about climate-ready policies, not yesterday's policies, not the documents we drafted 10 years ago when climate disruption felt abstract. No, I mean policies that anticipate disruptions, policies that allow adaptation, policies that give the workforce room to breathe. Don't kill them, don't choke them. Rooms to adapt, rooms to keep going, even when conditions are unstable. When conditions are unstable, to make the employees enjoy work. And what does that look like? It might mean flexible work arrangements. Can you see that now? It might mean remote work options. Clear, practical, structured. So that when heat waves or flood make commuting unsafe, business, doesn't stop. So many organizations are already doing it. Even at HQ, CIPM, kudos to the CE. There's already remote option. Sometimes you go there, they say, I'm working from home. I'm working in the office. I mean, that's sustainability. That's adaptation. That's forward thinking. Offices, everywhere. Cut-off days, when flood hits, businesses with remote work policies shifted online and kept going. Businesses without those policies, they simply lost productive time. Entire team, the entire team, they just sat idle. Not because they lacked the skill, but because the policy didn't give them the pathway. How will I sit in my house when the policy says I must come to the office 9 to 5, 5 or 6 days a week? Maybe you also need to look at new occupational health frameworks that don't treat extreme weather as unusual, but you accept it as daily business reality. For example, heat waves, when it becomes intense, what should the organization do? Restructure work hours, shift outdoor work to mornings. I've done outdoor work now. When I just started my career, I've done integrated marketing communications. We have gone to the entire north to run a project for, I think it was Nestle. So all of those times we're supposed to go and do outdoor campaigns, we shift it to morning because we know when the sun hits, we're in trouble. That's policy responding to climate, in real time. So let me leave that. I'm sure you understand what I mean on this policy matter. Adjust your policy to accommodate all of these, disruptions, so that the employees, you won't be undoing your organization by writing what the employees cannot do, asking them to come to the office every time, and they can't come because the road is flooded. Number 2, talent and skills development. When we are talking about managing HR in the face of climate change, we talk about resilience in business. one of the very first things we must get right is talent. Yes, talent and skill development. No matter how, maybe, let me say, no matter what the climate throws at us, whether it is heat waves, or whether it is flood, or whether it is power failures, or supply chain breakdowns, the workforce, the people are still the engine of execution. So the people remain the ones who carry strategy into reality. And if our people are not prepared, if our people are not equipped, then every other plan we design, every policy we draft, every strategy we announce will collapse under the weight of disruption. It will look good on paper, no doubt, but it will fail in practice. So what does this mean for us as HR leaders? It means reskilling and upskilling cannot be optional. Reskilling and upskilling cannot be optional. We must treat it as urgent. We must treat it as ongoing. We must treat it as part of the DNA of the business. We must be proactive with it, building climate literacy into every role, into every function. Climate literacy, training our people, not just for the jobs of today, but for the green jobs of tomorrow. Not just for what the business needs now, but for what the business will need next. Example, can we energy sector in Nigeria? That's why companies diversify into renewable, yes, renewables. Engineers, technicians, even administrative staff are being, retrained to handle solar. I'm sure you're aware. That's reskilling. We are retraining them to handle solar, wind, and other green technologies. And HR, we are the bridge. HR is the one scanning for skill gaps, planning for transition, making sure that the workforce does not just survive the change, but actually thrive within it. So it's no longer a CSR conversation. No. This is core business strategy. Without the right talent, no sustainability targets we hold. Without the right skills, no transition plan will succeed. Yeah, recruitment. When we integrate sustainability into recruitment, when we boldly signal in our employer branding that we are committed to climate action, something powerful will happen. Something magnetic will happen. And what is that something magnetic? We won't just attract talents. We're going to attract the right kind of talent. We attract the kind of people, the future requires. Purpose-driven people, resilient people, engaged people. People who don't just want a job, but want meaning in their job. The kind of, workforce that will, not only work for us, but they will work with us because, our purpose and their purpose align. Let me leave that there because I think I have like 10 more minutes. Culture and employer engagement. Culture and employee engagement. Culture is not abstract. I've said it times and again. It's not invisible. It's what employees breathe in every, they breathe it in every single day. It shapes how they think. It shapes how they respond to uncertainty. It shapes whether, they freeze or adapt or innovate. So if the culture is rigid, if the culture is built on this is how we have always done it, then what happens? When disruption comes, and let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, disruption will come. People will freeze, they will resist, they will hold back. But if the culture is adaptable, if it's flexible, if it's grounded in continuous learning, then when disruption comes, what will happen? The people won't break. They just bend. They adjust. They adapt. They thrive. And that's the first point. Culture of adaptability, a culture of continuous learning. And you are the custodian of this culture. We are the keepers. We are the stewards. We are the ones who shape the air that people breathe inside the organization. So if we don't lead, if we are not leading that shift, nobody else will. So what do? We need to redesign systems. We need to create programs. We need to tell stories. We need to reward behaviors. And all of this must point in one direction: adaptability and learning. So adaptability will not just come from the top. No. It will also rise from the bottom. And that's where, employee participation becomes critical. And one of the most effective ways, green teams, simple but powerful. You give employees ownership. You give them room to contribute. You let them come up with solutions. Let them experiment. Let them pay, their part in the organization's sustainability goals. And once they feel it's theirs, once they own it, buying is automatic because they own it now. So they buying in. It becomes automatic. They innovating becomes natural. They engaging. It shoots up. It shoots up. So part of our job as HR is to build robust wellness programs. Physical wellness, safe workplaces, healthy routines, but also mental and emotional resilience. Because if people are mentally broken, they cannot physically adapt. They cannot physically adapt. And what happens? We will suffer. We're going to suffer. So let me emphasize this one more time. We look at culture of adaptability, employee-driven engagement, well-being that covers both body and mind, and sustainability that is not bolted on, but is built on. And that is how HR drives resilience in the face of climate change. That's how we shape not just the policy, not just systems, but the people in the organization. And ultimately, it is the people who will make or break resilience. Diversity equation, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Climate change doesn't hit everyone the same way. No. The storm may be the same. The flood may be the same. The heat wave may be the same, but impact is very different, very unequal. A colleague with limited mobility. Which other one can I think of now? The single parent who cannot just pack up and relocate. The team member working in a flood-prone zone. Same crisis, different consequences. Same event, different realities. And so the role of HR here is not just policy. Policy is good, but we need to do more than policies. It's justice, it's fairness, it's making sure that in our immediate, in our climate resilience efforts, nobody is left behind. Absolutely nobody. So for instance, when severe flood shuts down transport routes, you can quickly switch to remote work, like I have said. That's good. But what about the factory worker in Ikeja who must be physically present, or in Sango, in Ota? What about the call center agents in Ibadan? who depends on a shared internet cafe because their home connection is unreliable, like this one I'm using now. So if HR does not consider these realities, then our plans, have become inclusive in theory, but exclusive in practice. So we need to consider, I mean, you can't tell factory workers to do remote. Remote about where will he get the machines to work with? So that's why disaster response plan must be inclusive. They must be accessible. They must be practical, not just words typed, in document, but, a checklist for compliance. So in conclusion, you need to clap for me. I manage my time well this time. So let me bring this home. Let's settle here for a moment. We've covered a lot today. Climate change, its impact on people, its impact on organizations, its impact on the way, we think about HR. And if you take nothing else away from this conversation, just one thing, let it be this. HR is not just on the receiving end of climate change anymore. No. HR is not just reacting to the shocks. We are strategic drivers in how organizations respond now. We are the strategic drivers. And I'll say it again because it cannot be overstated. HR is not just responding to crisis again. HR is shaping the response. HR is leading the response. So we are not administrative of policies only. No, we are architects of resilience. We are not just managers of people alone. No, we are custodians of capacity, custodians of adaptability, custodians of innovation. And here is the shift we must embrace. We cannot afford to stay reactive. Reactive HR waits for disruption. No, wait for damage, waits for fallout. But we have to be proactive HR. What does a proactive HR, what does proactive HR, what does it do? Proactive HR designs ahead of time. Proactive HR shapes environment before the storms arrive. Proactive HR protects people and positions the business to thrive. Reactive HR is firefighting. Proactive HR is leadership. And this moment, this climate challenge demands leadership. It calls for courage. It calls for vision. So my final challenge to you is simple. Simple, but not easy. When you get back to your organizations, when you sit with your teams, when you review your strategies, I want you to ask yourself one question. What is the one challenge, the one bold adjustment, the one intentional step that I will take to position HR as a climate resilient, future ready function in my organization? Not 10 things. No, not a laundry list. No, just one. Because one committed change consistently applied can create momentum. And momentum, once it begins, has a way of multiplying, of spreading, of transforming. So I leave you with that question. What one challenge will you take back? Think about it, reflect on it, own it, and then act on it. Because the future will not wait, and neither should we.